Hi, I'm Kassi Ashton. Blast off to the music universe.
We have a fantastic new artist today, somebody whose music I've loved ever since I heard her do this song on stage. Um, I think I'd heard it before because it was getting a lot of airplay. It's Kassi Ashton, her breakout hit called Crazy, and now she
Mhm.
has a new record coming out. She had a new single called The Straw last month. What's the record called? I don't have it in
It's
front of
called
me.
Made from the Dirt, out September 20th via MCA Nashville. It's her long-awaited full-length debut, and from what I've heard, it's pretty country, which is great. Um,
Well, you hear her accent, you'll understand why.
oh
My
yeah, yeah,
goodness, she's as southern rough and tumble as it gets. And
yeah,
this was
and
go
called
ahead.
Crazy is currently within the top 40 at country radio, and I mean she's very confident and outgoing, bubbly personality. Just absolutely loved talking with her, and it's a fun interview. So you got to make sure you watch it.
It is. It was one of the most fun that I think we've done all year, and maybe in the top 10 of the ones that we've done. Here's Kassi Ashton. Well, we are talking with one of my favorite new artists today. I saw her at CRS and she just blew me away on the stage at the Ryman. Kassi Ashton, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am
Great.
I'm fantastic. It's fantastic to talk to you. You got new music out. The Straw came out August 9th. You have your debut album coming out this fall. But before we get to that, I got to
Mhm.
talk about the song that I think really sort of exploded you on the scene and introduced you to the public, called Crazy. Uh yes. And I saw you perform it and I just thought to myself, first of all, that voice, oh my gosh. Second of all, the commanding power that you had on the stage at the Ryman, my goodness. So take us through how that song came to be, through that journey up through performing it as part of that showcase.
Right. Thank you, by the way. First of all, thank you. Um, that is not some like Nashville poetic hook or flip or, you know, philosophical idea. It's just the cold, hard truth from like hard earned life experience. Any man who has ever called me crazy calls me again and again years later, and I block their number. Like, and then they Snapchat me or something weird. But I went into the writer room with Jared Kime and Emily Weisband, and I told them that title. And Emily was still like shifting around, like sitting down, put her coffee down, and she looked up at me and she goes, "Never been called crazy by a man who didn't come back." Just like that. And I looked at her and said, "For more." And we knew that we had a hit like instantaneously. We're like, it doesn't even matter what we write around this hook because what you just sang is so fire. It doesn't even matter. But then the rest of the song ended up being, amazing too. And I remember thinking, if this is not perfectly my lane in commercial country music, I do not know what is. This is the kind of music I grew up on. My first ringtone ever was Kerosene, Miranda Lambert. I think I had 20-second snip that I would just play over and over again. And I've always been, about the crazy girls, about the bad girls. I was Team Christina in the Christina Britney feud when I was little. I like the girls with a little snap that wear the leather pants. And so I felt if I ever dreamed of a song being a hit that I had to sing for the next 20, 30 years, this is it. And luckily everyone has agreed with me thus far. And then when you saw me at the Ryman, that was CRS Country Radio Seminar, 3 or 4 days of everyone seeing 100 artists, right? I would assume as someone who goes to CRS, you're exhausted, right? Because it's like spring break for the music industry. You're drinking, you're seeing a million shows, you're being pitched things all day long. So if I have one shot, one, if I got 5 minutes in your 4 days of time, I better send it like all the way. So that's where the power walk comes into play, and the trying to own it with my whole aura and my whole psyche as much as I can. Because just like, hey, I want to make you feel something. I don't want to be, part of the gray area. You're either going to love this confidence or you're going to hate it. But either way, you're going to talk about it tomorrow.
That's awesome. And that leads perfectly into my next thing, which you actually talked a little bit about it, which was your lane in commercial country music. Did the success of Called Crazy inform anything with regard to the process of this debut album that's coming out this fall?
For me, no. Like I've always known who I am. It's just chasing the muse. That's the problem. I think for other people, whether it be in the label or fans or whatever, I think that that kind of helped them understand where I was coming from and where I wanted to go. And that did help get the album moving, right? Get the budgets approved, get the dates put on the calendar. And then I just got really a bigger shot at showing who I am and who I've always been.
And Made from the Dirt is the name of the project. Does that kind of just describe who you are?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I actually got that song title. I was watching a live feed of a couture fashion show, and these models were wearing the most gorgeous handmade textured metallic gowns, trudging through mud. The stage in which the show was presented was like a pitch black, high spotlight beamed motocross field, basically. The puddles, the hills, the obstacles. And I thought, I wonder if everyone realizes that the gowns are all the more beautiful because they're being dragged through the mud, because the models are having to climb and claw and really put their back into it. And I just related so heavily to that imagery because all of my favorite things about myself, that if I could make a list, have come from struggle or overcoming obstacles. I wasn't born with any of my favorite things. That's like, congrats, you were born with it. No one cares. But like the things that have given me scars and that have shaped me are my favorite things. So yeah, I'm made from the dirt. And I tell everybody I love the get back up. Like, please push me down because I'm all the more interesting afterward.
Yeah. And The Straw, tell us about your latest song.
The Straw. So I wrote that 7.5 years ago, actually. It's the oldest song on the album. But if a song is good, a song is good. Doesn't matter when they wrote it.
Hmm.
I was going through, a breakup that is horrible in the way of it wasn't one thing that broke it, right? It wasn't one big moment that you thought, oh, I can't deal with this. It's that heavy bending and breaking over time, and that realizing that, like, hey, I deserve better. My back hurts from having to bend and break and change, and no one else in this relationship is noticing. And so I wrote it with Luke Laird and Lori McKenna, and we were hanging out, and she was like, oh, I thought you were happy and you bought a house with him and blah blah blah. And I said, well, the straw that broke my back was, and she gasped and she said, the straw. I've always wanted to write that. And I started bawling as soon as she said that because it just felt so encompassing and so right on the dot of how I felt. And so when we wrote that song, I knew I wanted it to be a part of my debut album. I didn't know that it would take 7 years for that to come out, but I
Hmm.
knew that it was a pillar of who I was and my sound and the authenticity and grit that I wanted to offer to people and give through my gift. And so timing is everything, baby. I'm glad I waited.
Awesome. Yes, timing is everything. And do you feel grateful for those 7 years in between that song and now and everything that's happened in between?
Yeah, for sure. There were definitely moments when, you think, why is it this hard? Or why is this taking so long? But looking back now, I couldn't have made this work of art and this much of myself 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
Mm.
I just couldn't have. I didn't know fully what I was getting myself into. And now I feel like if I have one shot and I have one first impression to make, I'll go with this and die on this hill 10 toes down every time.
Mhm. And outside of the straw, how long did it take to put this album together?
I would say maybe a year and a half. Yeah, somewhere in there. Just the balance of taking your time, but also catching the muse when you can get her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. And you say that, you've said that a few times, catching the muse. When does the muse hit you and say, catch me? What?
Hey, if I had a formula, I would be all the better for it, but it's just kind of like you got to capture it when you can, right?
Mhm.
I remember John Mayer talking about songwriting, and he said if I'm in the space, the creative space where I can songwrite, I'll keep writing until it's gone. I never force myself to write like if it's not there because it's a waste of time, but then once I catch it, I'll drain it for all it has because it's just something that like yes, we're the skilled pen. Yes, we're the history. Yes, we know how to rhyme words and how to say things, but we are also a vessel of
Mm.
inspiration to flow through, and half of the battle is just catching that and getting it down on paper.
Right.
That's
And then
perfect.
you've actually earned your first ACM nomination earlier this year, so congrats on that. But what did
Thank you.
that feel like being a new artist and finally getting that type of recognition?
When they told me that I was nominated, I think the first word out of my mouth was no. Because I just like didn't believe it. And I think I'm one of those people that I like to just work and keep my head down. For better or for worse, are not good at celebrating small things because I just like to work and focus and keep my eye, on where I'm going and not look up. And my friends kind of like shook me and took me out for margaritas and was like, "You're nominated for an Academy of Country Music Award." Like, hello, look up, drink this margarita. And it was incredible. It did not hit me until we I did the carpet. That's a blur, right? It's everything the movies make it seem like. Then the holding room before the show. It didn't hit me until we're walking into the show and they handed me my ticket, and I didn't look down at my seat number or whatever, and they're directing me to where my seat is, and I was at the front. I was in the third row with all of my country music idols and friends. And I thought, why, what am I doing all the way up here? I'm not supposed to be in the third row. I could literally spit at the stage if I wanted to. Oh my God, I'm going to be on camera. This is the section of the award show that they film. Like, what am I doing up here? And then I remember my fiance just laughing at me and being like, "Hey, you're nominated for the show that we're watching. Of course you're up here." And that's when it finally sank in, and I don't know if my mind fully took in any of the award show because for those 2 hours I was just going, holy crap. I'm in it now. I can't
Mhm.
believe it.
And you
That's
got to
amazing.
most likely not only sit with those people, but meet maybe many of them for the first time and chat with them.
Yeah, for sure. My friends Old Dominion, who I spent all last year on tour with, were right in front of me, so that was fun because we know each other so well. We're friends. My friend Ernest was right beside me. He's like one of the funniest human beings on the planet. So my spot couldn't have been better. And like I've met Chris Stapleton before, and he's been so kind and so complimentary and inspiring, but it's not like I've like been to his house. So I'm
Right.
still like awestruck when I see him just because the talent is insane. And he sat down in front of Old Dominion, and of course he performed with Dua Lipa on that show, and none of us knew that was happening. They didn't announce it. Dua wasn't in the crowd before. And then I remember thinking, this is the most beautiful collaboration ever. She sounds like she's meant to be on this song. And when he came and sat down back in his seat and Dua came with him, that's when I was like,
I love
Did you
it.
get to talk to her?
No, no. I just would have been like, hi, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace. No,
Yeah, you're
I
so
love
beautiful. I like your dress.
well, you brought up being on the road. So 2024 into, oh my gosh, headed into 2025
Woo!
already. What's coming up for you on the road, Miss Kassi?
Honestly, every place that they'll let me bring Made from the Dirt to and play my songs for people, sign me up. Like next year, I'm like, book me a show every single day. I'm trying to just get this music out and make my first impression to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Uh, I'm gonna call it now, and I don't say this on every episode, and Buddy will tell you that we do with a new artist. Superstar in the making.
Thank you.
Superstar in the making. I can
Thank you.
tell from the quality of the music, from the quality of the personality.
Thank you.
It's gonna I think Called Crazy and everything that's happened around that leading up to the first album is just a taste of what's in store for you.
Thank
Kassi Ashton, thank you so very much.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes,
congrats
anytime.
on everything. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it.
That album, Made from the Dirt, out this fall. What date is that out? You're my information man. What date?
September 20th. Yeah.
September 20th.
So it's
Uh,
right here, we're right here on it. And she's going to be a superstar, like you said.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we
You can
talked,
tell when somebody has that factor, and I think she does. She's just so down to earth, and so she's at that point, and I love talking to new artists like this. She's at the point where it's happening for her, but it's still but the fact that it is happening for her is still overwhelming. And
right,
so, and I will say, not that I thought she'd be, tense or intense or stern, but she is so sweet and so fun. But on stage, the sass comes out, and she knows how to put on a stage persona like that. And so it was really fun to get to talk to her about all of that stuff.
well, she's one of the hundreds of artists you've seen almost this year alone when you factor in every individual artist at the showcases and stuff.
I'm close to 300
This year alone,
this year alone.
Called Crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Thanks for watching and listening. And check us out at themusicuniverse.com and on socials at the Music Uni. Take care.